You think you're in a relationship with one person, but triangulation silently turns it into a competition you never agreed to. And the manipulator is the only one who knows the rules. Today, I'll show you exactly how triangulation works, how manipulators use it to control you, and how you can break the cycle before it destroys your self-worth. Let's start with the moment every victim misses. The moment the third person enters the picture. They don't walk in loudly. They appear quietly, effortlessly, as if nothing sinister is happening at all. But this is where the trap begins. Triangulation always starts with a comparison, a subtle one, a harmless one, or so you think. They say something like, you know, Sarah never gets upset like this, or my ex understood me better than anyone, or Mark really appreciates my efforts. Notice the pattern? Someone else is suddenly being held up as the standard, and you're being pulled into a silent competition you didn't ask for. This is triangulation phase 1, creating insecurity. But here's the part most people miss. It's not about Sarah. It's not about the ex. It's not about Mark. It's about controlling your emotions. Triangulation is emotional puppeteering. It pushes you to fight for attention, to fight for validation, to fight for your place in their life. And the manipulator sits back, watching you dance for their approval. But that's only the beginning. The comparison is just phase 1, because next comes phase 2, and it's far more dangerous. Phase 2 is manufactured jealousy. The manipulator introduces the third person more aggressively. They mention them more often, respond faster to them than to you, laugh harder at their messages. Suddenly, they're just friends who seem too close, or an ex who still cares, or a coworker who really gets them. Your instincts scream that something is off, but every time you bring it up, they tell you you're overreacting, that you're insecure, that you're imagining things. This isn't an accident. This is psychological conditioning. They want you confused. They want you doubting yourself. They want you emotionally unstable, because an unstable person is easier to control. And triangulation is control disguised as competition. Here's the retention loop. The part coming next is the core of triangulation, the secret mechanism that keeps people trapped for years. If you understand this next phase, you break their power. This is where the manipulator shows their true hand. Phase 3, the reward switch. Just when you're hurting the most, just when you feel your place slipping, they suddenly give you attention again. Love, validation, affection. They tell you you're special. They tell you not to worry. They tell you nothing is wrong. For a moment, you feel safe again. This is not love. This is reinforcement. They're training you, like a dog responding to treats. You learn that insecurity equals attention. You learn that jealousy equals closeness. You learn that emotional chaos equals emotional connection. This is how trauma bonds are formed, through pain and reward. Pain and reward, over and over until it feels normal, until it feels like love. But it's not love. It's psychological addiction, and the manipulator knows it. They rely on it, because the more insecure you become, the harder you cling to them, and the less likely you are to leave. The third person becomes bait, a tool, a weapon, someone they dangle in front of you, to keep you competing, to keep you off balance, to keep you emotionally dependent. Because dependence means control, and control is all a manipulator ever wants. But here's where triangulation gets even darker. People think it only happens in romantic relationships. It doesn't. It shows up with friends, with coworkers, with family members, even with parents. Ever seen a parent say, "Your brother never causes problems like you"? That's triangulation. Ever seen a boss praise one employee to manipulate another? Triangulation. Ever had a friend constantly bring up someone cooler than you? Triangulation again. It's everywhere. Because insecurity is a universal control tool. But here's the loop. The next phase is where most victims finally break down, and manipulators know this. They push you until you snap, and then they twist it against you. Phase 4, the emotional explosion. Eventually, you react. You cry. You panic. You confront them. You ask, "Why are you doing this? Why is this person always involved? Why don't I feel good enough anymore?" Instead of comforting you, they go cold. They say you're dramatic. They say you're clingy. They say you're jealous. They say you are the problem. And suddenly the third person becomes the reasonable one. Sarah never freaks out like this. My ex never had these issues. Mark doesn't make everything so emotional. See the trap? Your reaction becomes proof that you deserve the comparison. They set the fire, then blame you for burning. But here's the part manipulators never expect. The part I'm going to teach you next, the part that breaks the cycle permanently. If you understand this next phase, they lose control instantly. This is how you take your power back. Phase 5, the recognition shift. You stop competing, you stop justifying yourself. You stop explaining your worth because you realize the problem was never the other person. The problem was the manipulator creating the triangle. Triangulation only works when you play the game. So the first step is simple. Stop playing. When they mention someone else, don't react, don't defend, don't chase. Just observe. When they try to make you jealous, stay calm, stay centered, stay neutral. When they try to bait you into competition, step back emotionally. Their power depends on your reaction. No reaction equals no fuel. No fuel equals no control. No control equals the collapse of the entire triangulation system. But here's the deeper transformation. Once you stop reacting, the manipulator panics. They lose their leverage. Their third-person trick stops working. So they escalate. They try harder. They push more buttons. They mention the third person more intensely. This is a sign that the manipulation is failing. Stay calm. This is where most people get sucked back in. But you won't. You're learning the psychology behind it. And knowledge is power. Now, let's talk about the final phase, the part where you regain full control. This is emotional liberation. And it's what every manipulator fears. Phase 6, reclaiming self-value. You stop seeking validation from the manipulator. You stop comparing yourself to the other person. You stop measuring your worth through their eyes. You rebuild your internal compass, your self-esteem, your emotional autonomy. You stop asking, why am I not good enough? And you start asking, why am I tolerating someone who needs to make me doubt myself? That question alone shatters the entire manipulation structure, because triangulation only works on people who care. Once you stop caring about their comparisons, they lose all control, every ounce of it. And here's the truth. Manipulators never want you to know triangulation is not a sign of your weakness. It's a sign of their insecurity. Manipulators use triangulation because they fear losing control. They fear emotional intimacy. They fear accountability. They fear being abandoned. The triangle is their shield, their weapon, their comfort zone. But once you see the mechanics behind it, it becomes powerless, completely powerless. Let's go even deeper, because there's one more reveal you need to understand. The third person, they're not the enemy. Most of the time, they don't even know they're being used. Manipulators recruit people unknowingly. They frame the story. They create narratives. They play victim to them and villain to you. It's not about love triangles. It's about control triangles. Triangulation is psychological warfare, and the battlefield is emotional attention. But you're learning the tactics now. And once you learn the tactic, you become immune to it. So let me give you 3 clear signs that someone is triangulating you. These are the patterns no manipulator can hide. Sign 1, you are constantly being compared, directly or indirectly, to an ex, a coworker, a friend, a sibling, or someone who does things better. If comparison is constant, triangulation is happening. Sign 2, they run emotional conversations through someone else. They never talk to you directly. They say, well, Sarah agrees with me. Or, everyone thinks you're being dramatic. Everyone is usually one person, and that one person is being used as a weapon. Sign 3, your emotions are never validated, but the third person's emotions always are. They hold them as the standard, and you as the problem. That imbalance is intentional. It's designed to destabilize you, because unstable people cling harder. Now, let's talk about breaking free, not with anger, not with confrontation, but with power, internal power, quiet power, the kind manipulators can't touch. Step 1, detach emotionally, react less, observe more, let silence become your shield. Step 2, stop explaining your worth. You don't need to justify your value to a manipulator. Step 3. Set boundaries that don't move. No chasing, no competing, no defending. Step 4. If they escalate, stay neutral. That's when their mask cracks. Step 5. Rebuild your self-esteem outside the relationship, because once you reclaim your worth, the triangle collapses forever.